What if Rapunzel was never meant to be a charming tale of love and rescue, but a grim story of imprisonment, disobedience, and the price women pay for defying control? Today, we're peeling back the golden hair to uncover the disturbing roots of one of the world's most beloved fairy tales. From kidnapped girls and forced imprisonment to religious martyrdom and ancient goddesses, Rapunzel is far more than a bedtime story. Behind the tower lies a tangled web of folklore and forgotten history. Stay with us, because by the end, you'll see that the story of Rapunzel wasn't just meant to entertain children. It was a tool to shape behavior, reinforce control, and, at times, rebel against it. The version of Rapunzel most of us know comes from the Brothers Grimm. It tells the story of a young girl taken from her parents and locked away in a tower by a powerful enchantress. One day, a passing prince hears her singing and eventually finds a way to visit her in secret. They fall in love, but when their relationship is discovered, the consequences are brutal. The witch cuts off Rapunzel's hair and casts her into the wilderness. The next time the prince climbs the tower, he's met with betrayal. The witch tricks him, and in despair, he throws himself from the tower, surviving the fall but losing his sight. On the surface, it's a tale of romance and redemption, a classic fairy tale arc. But underneath, it's laced with caution. Rapunzel isn't just a story about love, it's a morality tale. It warns of the dangers of disobedience, the shame and punishment that come from stepping outside prescribed roles, especially for young women. And yet, it also hints at something more subversive, a spark of resilience. A quiet message that survival and healing are possible even after punishment. Long before the Brothers Grimm gave us the version we know today, Rapunzel existed in darker, more crude forms. These earlier versions weren't crafted for children or bedtime. They were visceral, often unsettling stories that reflected the social norms and power dynamics of their time. In the 17th century, Italian writer Giambattista Basile published a tale called Petronella. In it, the young girl isn't just a passive prisoner. She's clever, resourceful, and taught magic by the ogre who holds her captive. When the time comes, Petronella doesn't wait to be rescued. She escapes using enchanted acorns, each one unleashing a magical obstacle to stop her pursuer. It's a tale of survival, not salvation. A few decades later in France, the story took on new depth in Percinet, written by Charlotte Rose de Caumont de la Force. A noblewoman and celebrated writer, La Force was no stranger to controversy. Her stories were populated with clever, outspoken women who pursued love on their own terms. In a time where women were expected to be obedient, modest, and silent. Her sharp intellect and unorthodox lifestyle, including a rumored affair with a much younger man of lower status, drew the ire of Louis XIV's court. The king's second wife, Madame de Maintenon, had begun enforcing a wave of moral reforms aimed at curbing immorality among women. La Force's public love affairs and bold literary voice soon marked her as a threat to this new order. In 1697, by royal decree, she was forcibly confined to a convent. While being held against her will in the convent, she began writing Percinet, a story about a young woman imprisoned, silenced, and punished for her desires. In the story, a young woman is locked away in a tower, cut off from the world, her life controlled by someone else. It's hard not to see the parallels. What began as punishment for a woman deemed too free became the inspiration for a tale about captivity. La Force's Percinet retains the familiar imagery of a tower and a jealous captor. But her version is longer and more emotionally layered than the tale the Grimms would later popularize. Where the Grimm version flattens Rapunzel into a moral warning, Percinet offers a richer portrait of a young woman longing for connection, grappling with isolation, and discovering love and desire on her own terms. These versions all share a similar structure: a girl locked away, a secret lover, an eventual escape. But the tone is different. They're less about punishment and more about defiance. The girls in these stories aren't naive. They're rebellious and strategic. The endings are hard-won, not handed down by fate. They reflect a world where women had to fight just to have control over their own lives. Together, Petronella and Percinet reveal a version of Rapunzel very different from the one the Grimms would later popularize. In these earlier tales, she was clever, rebellious, and actively fought for her freedom. But as cultural values shifted in 19th century Europe, the story was reshaped to reflect a more conservative ideal. Rapunzel became gentler, more obedient, and her rebellion was replaced with quiet suffering. The bold heroine was softened into a passive damsel, reflecting a time when women were expected to be seen, not heard. But what if Rapunzel wasn't entirely a work of fiction? What if the image of the girl in the tower had a real historical root? One such figure is Saint Barbara, a young noblewoman said to have lived in the 3rd century. According to early Christian accounts, her father locked her in a tower to keep her isolated from outside influences, especially Christianity. But in secret, Barbara converted. When her father discovered the truth, he turned on her, handing her over to Roman authorities, who condemned her to death. In a final act of cruelty, her own father carried out the execution, beheading her himself. Historians have long questioned whether Barbara ever truly existed. Some believe she was a symbolic figure, shaped by legend rather than fact. Even her relics, supposedly held in Kyiv, are shrouded in mystery and doubt. Whether historical or mythical, Barbara became something more than just a name in a story. She became a symbol of a woman confined, punished, and ultimately sanctified. And her story would echo across cultures, influencing not just religious tradition, but the very way we tell stories about control, confinement, and women. Across cultures and centuries, we find echoes of the same core elements of Rapunzel: women isolated, controlled, and mythologized. In Norse mythology, there is Sif, the wife of Thor, known for her long golden hair, a symbol of fertility and abundance. When the trickster god Loki cuts it off as a prank, it's more than a joke. It's a violation. Her hair wasn't just beautiful, it was sacred, tied to her identity and symbolic power. In ancient Greece, Danae is locked in a bronze tower by her father, who fears a prophecy that her son will one day kill him. But Zeus finds a way in, descending as a shower of gold to impregnate her. Danae is both prisoner and vessel, her fate entirely out of her hands. And in Persian epic poetry, Rudaba, a princess, falls in love with a warrior. To help him reach her chamber, she lets down her long black hair from a tower, allowing him to climb to her. Across these stories, the pattern is clear. A woman was confined, her body policed or exploited. Her destiny was decided by others. Again and again, hair becomes the symbol of purity, power, captivity, and rebellion. Rapunzel is more than a fairy tale. Her story is not simply about a girl trapped in a tower. It's about how societies have confined women, protected them, punished them, and shaped their destinies through fear and control. Throughout history, this image repeats. A young woman is cut off from the world. Her body is guarded like treasure, her voice muted, her choices erased. In some versions, she escapes by using her own wit. In others, with help. But she always transforms, always survives. Rapunzel may be a fairy tale, but the themes at its core, confinement, control, and the longing for freedom, have echoed across cultures and centuries. Whether it's a young girl locked in a tower, a noblewoman forced into a convent, or mythic figures whose stories reflect similar patterns, the message remains. The struggle for autonomy has always been part of the human experience, especially for women. Stories like Rapunzel endure not just because they entertain, but because they carry truths beneath their surface. Truths about society, gender roles, and what happens when someone dares to break the rules.